Welcome once again to the state of From Zero Developer. This is lesson 10, and you will learn how to create a form to collect user inputs. You're probably very familiar with this folder, the developer.com folder. Let's just open that up a little bit. You can see all the pages we've created so far: the index.html, the images.html, the text.html. Now we're going to be creating another one called the form.html. So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy this text and paste and rename it to the form.html. Then we need to open up the index.html page. We need to open that up with Notepad, and we still need to open that up with Google Chrome. Now we're just going to add, just as we did previously, we're going to add a link pointing to the forms page. So if you do this, just add a link pointing to the forms page. Working with forms, we'll just change the title to here to forms. Yeah, that's already going smoothly. If we refresh, oh, we need to change this to forms.html. Forms.html, and we must confirm that it's forms. It's not forms, it's form. So we must change this back to form, not forms. Form.html. Yeah, and now we can open Chrome to refresh. See, now working with forms. If you click this, you see, oh, I made a mistake in editing this. This is index. We can't do this here, or we can do it in the forms page. So if we refresh this, now the forms.html still has things from the text file. Let's go back to form. So we need to edit this form.html file. Let's open that up with Notepad also. Yeah, this is form.html. On point. So this is where we add our title, forms, fundamental markup, background, index, back to home, everything. So what we do is we just clear out everything except the title, where we write working with forms. So let's just go see what's going on in our forms page. See that the URL has changed to forms fundamental markup. Yeah, fundamental markup. I just want to be sure that we are not creating something. Is creating a new. If I go back to forms, if I go back to home, okay, pretty good. Close this up. Forms, back to home, forms. Okay, I was just trying to be sure that it's not creating a new tab anytime we click the links. So working with forms. Now there's something I'm going to add to what I've shown you before about inputs and all that. It will actually be something we call the form tag, because there's a tag for form. Yeah, the form tag. This is the form tag. Now, as a front-end developer or a beginner front-end developer, you might not need to bother about the form tag, but it is good practice to always put it there, because the back-end developers would use it in writing their code, like in creating their back-end logic. They will need the form to be present in the HTML document. So it's always good practice that anytime you're creating a form for logging in, signing up, or doing stuff like that, that you should always include this form to capture them. And the form collects two very important attributes, which are the method and action. So you can leave this to empty for the backend developer to decide. He's going to populate this by himself, but when you're creating a form, this is how you start. Then next you would add your inputs, which is always so we're gonna use all the types today. Type, yeah, type. I have text, type. Let me just add a placeholder to this form. So placeholder is the text that will be shown, that would be flashing, that will be flashed to the user before he actually inputs anything inside the input, inside the text box. This is what he will see to guide him in filling the text box. So we call it a placeholder. So in this case, we just be calling it username. Wow, username. It was flashed to the user before he actually fills in the form. So you see that this is all you can see. You can't see the form element itself. You can't see this form itself. You can't. It's invisible, but it's actually carrying this input field. You might not be able to see it, but it's there. So this is demonstrating a text. Now let's demonstrate an email. You have gone through this before, so you should be a guru. But and I'll show you why this is very important very soon. So let's quickly add a submit button to this place. Type submit, and there's no placeholder for a submit button. You just have a value which is please submit. Yeah, so if we refresh now, yeah, so this is our form on a straight line, and let's just leave it like that for now. This is how your Facebook login is. Do you know? Now let's click submit. It's going nowhere. What we can now do is we can add something. You can add a rule called required. You can do it like this: required equals to required, so that the form will not be submitted until this will prevent the form from being submitted until someone actually imputes an email into this field. So if you refresh, submit, will tell you please fill out this field. So you see the relevance of all these small attributes, value additions that we just added to our markup. We can break that down so that everything now goes to a new line, because I am about to introduce something that you have not seen before, so I have to kind of like clear it. So what I'll be adding now is something we call a select tag. So for us to do that, let's just create enough space. Yeah, let's create enough space so you can actually see. So now what's the select? You must have come across drop downs before, and drop downs telling to select your gender, and it selects, it's a double tag. Yeah, so how to create it is very simple. You create an opening tag and a closing tag, and it carries options inside it. So look at an example of an option tag with an option tag. You see this? This is how you create a select drop down in HTML. So let's just say gender gender, here we have male, here we have female, and this option takes something called a value, which is going to be male, and a value which is going to be female. So this is probably all you need to do to create a select drop down. The back-end developer knows what to do with this from here, but this is how far it goes for the front-end guy. You just need to create something like this, and he understands, the back-end developer will understand exactly what he's gonna do with this. So you see that in the gender we have male and female. So depending on the number of options that you want to populate, you can add more. Yeah, male, female. There's no other gender, but you can add more options if you want to. If it's an option of list of countries, so you just populate all the countries here from A to Z. But this is just a fundamental example of male and female, and I think that should be sufficient enough to communicate the functionality of the select input tag. So that is how you use selects in a form. What else do we need to we need to add a radio button. Now you're getting into some complex, not really complex, but some more involved forms here, not just the tertiary type of forms that we're creating. So let's just quickly add another input called the radio button. So how do you create a radio button? Wow, this is simple, very simple. So this is what you just do. You call this type radio, and you give it an attribute called name. Radio. So a radio button is actually a button. Like if you have a true or false type of question that you're asking your end users, they are either going to choose true or false, but one must be chosen. That's what we use radio buttons for. So in this part we can just call this true, and in this part we can just call this false. So if you go to the browser to refresh, you see that we just have true and false. Now you see there's something happening here. It must be either one of them. So if you select this one and this other one will get unselected, if you select this one, this other one will get unselected. Why is it behaving like that? It's behaving like that because they share the same name in common. So if I call this radio 2, it will stop behaving like that. It's very important to know that. So if I do this, I can still do this because they don't refer to the same entity anymore. But if they bear the same name attributes, which is, if I give this radio 2 now, two of them will be talking to the same entity and they will represent the same thing. So it will be either one of them will represent that thing, but both of them cannot represent the entity in question. So both of them must bear the same name attributes in a nutshell. The both radio buttons must bear the same name attribute for two of them to reference the same entity in question. So this is how you create radio buttons in HTML. And last but not the least, it's how to create a checkbox. So it's almost the same way you create a radio button, but this time you specify something called checkbox. You can give it a name, any name, but the name attribute is not not necessary here. So in the checkboxes are used for, when you create these terms of use type of thing, that's when you use checkboxes. So you require the user to insert to agree and tick this box before he can proceed with using your application. So do you agree? So the bar from the back end, if the person does not tick this box, we're not going to let him sign in or sign up, stuff like that. So that's what it is used for. So do you agree to our terms and conditions? Let's just write it like that. Do you agree to our terms and conditions? So if he agrees, he's going to tick the box. If he doesn't agree, he's not going to tick the box. And that's how checkboxes work in HTML. So this is everything you would need to know when you work with HTML forms. Yeah, last but not the least, there's a password field. Yes, let me just duplicate that. The password fields are protected fields, so they don't allow people to see your inputs. So don't forget to use password fields for password inputs. Always ensure that the type is set to password. And this concludes our tutorial on forms. So basically on this page we have everything that you need in creating a real life form. This is a password field, so you see that we can see what I am imputing there as my password, and you see the select drop down fields, and I showed you how to do that. Now the radio buttons, you know that it's either the true or the false, but not both. And the checkbox is for ticking interest and indicating interest. So this is how it is done, and thanks for watching.